Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. How is it going? Hi, this is Matias from PR Lab. Genaro and Bob, if you're here, can you please unmute yourself and put your camera on?
Hello,
Yay,
everyone.
here.
Hey,
Mati.
hi, Matt.
Wow, it's like magic. How's it going, guys?
Good, thanks.
All good, all good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. It's such an honor, honestly, and it's also an honor to have already 18 participants who are here. So welcome. Thanks so much for joining, guys. If you want to maybe tell us a bit about yourself, what we get started, what motivated you to join this event, what is it you would like to learn from these SEO experts. Now it's your chance. We have a moderator, Jonah, that is sitting actually right behind me. Here you go, backstage. And he's going to be reading all your questions and maybe sharing those with us along the way. So you can ask anything you want. And hope you enjoy it. If you're in Europe, I hope you wind down with us and you have the rest of your day you enjoy with us. And if you're in the US or in South America, you're starting your day with us. So good morning. We'll try to not make it very heavy. We know SEO can be quite of a heavy topic, especially if you don't have experience in the field. So what I'm going to do is I have this little heart here. So if you see me, please, the speakers, if you see me showing it to you, please, that means I need to translate the human language and not get too technical and try to just like get people to understand, okay? Maybe we can just keep it that way for now. Sounds good?
Great.
It's definitely a good idea.
Okay, perfect. So if again, if you just joined, please drop a message telling us a bit about yourself. And if you have any questions along the way, drop them in the chat box and we will pick them up. Sounds good? Alrighty, so I'm gonna share my screen because we have a few slides for you. And it says that the host has disabled me from sharing my screen. Great. So from screen sharing. So maybe John, you can give me access. And we can, while we get this sorted, I can maybe just tell you a little bit about PR Lab and why we are organizing this event. So PR Lab is an integrated marketing and PR agency based in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, but we operate internationally. We work with startups and scale-ups mainly in the tech sector overall. And we basically help businesses to boost their visibility with their target audiences. And why is that we're organizing an SEO event? Well, because PR and SEO is very intertwined. You know, Google and the search engine, they really like when people have links, like referral links to different sites. And with PR, with earned media, we get domains with a high domain authority to basically link to your sites and like through an article or an interview, etc. And that is actually something that also helps you to rank higher on SEO because basically we're building credibility for your business. We also offer SEO-friendly websites, and that is actually something that we will tell you in a bit. Jonah, how are we doing with the screen sharing? Let me see. Oh, perfect. Yes. Here we go. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. So I'm gonna go in full screen mode. Okay, so yeah, a little bit about what I was just telling you. PR Lab, these are all of our clients. Maybe you will recognize some, maybe you won't. But we work across sectors. We also organize meetups. Now they're digital, of course, like this, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you stick around, and towards the end of the session, you share some feedback with us. We'll also send you some checklists and stuff that we made for you. So if you feel like the content is becoming a bit more too complex or too technical, don't worry about it. We will send you afterwards a PDF with a recap of what we just discussed. So you can just like take it home with you, discuss it with your web developer, discuss it with your SEO agency. We should try to make it very easy for you. Now, here are the speakers. This is me. I'm going to be moderating. I'm the founder of PR Lab. My name is Matias. And yeah, I've been working in the field for almost 10 years now. Then we have Renato. Welcome, Renato. Nice to have you.
Thank you, Mati.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
So,
Maybe tell people who
sure,
you
of
are?
course. Yes. So I'm head SEO consultant at PeerLab and Dishiberi's. As you know, PeerLab is a PR agency based in Amsterdam. So mainly we work with startups, scale-ups, and some corporates. And Dishiberi's is a marketing agency in Paris. And we work with different kind of companies from different fields, like real estate, law firms, and tourism sector. I also have been working in improving website loading speed since 2018, and in 2020 I started working with Oxygen Builder. That's the most performant builder for WordPress and really make my life easier. So I'm going to tell you a bit more about that later.
Okay, thank you so much, Renato. And then we have Bob. Welcome, Bob.
Hi. Yeah, so my name is Bob. I'm in the field in the SEO for about, more than 10 years now. So I've started optimizing in the time of Panda and Penguin. We can raise a heart now, but those were like the first Google updates that made the world go, whoa, what is going to happen? We're on the verge of maybe another one, but we will discuss that later. I have a background in journalism. This means that I always do SEO from search intent. So how does the user actually Google and then translate that into platforms? I'm doing that for a content marketing agency based in Amsterdam and Düsseldorf, which is Wayne Parker Kent. I'm their SEO expert. And I have a freelance network. We call it the digital marketing specialist because, hey, people internationally Google digital marketing specialist. And there we bring all kinds of specialists together to work on different platforms. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Bob. We're really looking forward to hearing your thoughts. And if you just joined the event, please drop a question in the chat box if you have any, and introduce yourself as well. And also, a lot of you have been asking, I'm going to get a recording after the session. Yes, you will. So don't stress if we go too fast, you will get a recording afterwards. Now, shall we get to it? Yes?
Yep.
Okay, let's do it. So maybe, Bob, you want to tell us, and I have some slides that you made as well, but maybe you just want to introduce us to the topic, and you can, I don't know, in a way that we can all understand, you can tell us what is happening, why is Google changing its algorithms, and what does it mean to maybe small or medium-sized or big businesses?
Yeah, well, let's first go to not skip the slide with the nice Wayne Parker Kent logo, yeah, and then we go to the next one.
Yes.
So basically, I will go through this slide. I will just read it out loud. It is also telling what it is about. It's the Google Core Web Vitals. That's going to be the name of the new system that this algorithm update is about. So why are these Core Web Vitals? What are they? And why will they have a huge impact when they will be effective later this year? It is the following. In May last year, 2020, Google introduced the Core Web Vitals metrics into the Search Console. That is the SEO dashboard. That is like basically Google Analytics for SEO guys. So if you don't use it, it's handy to use it with whatever website you have. Then it was announced to be a beta testing a product that will make website performance and UI UX part of the main ranking signals. So basically Google said, we're not going to look only to your content and your links. We're also going to look at how your website performs, and we're going to make that a ranking signal. So good performance will probably mean better rankings. So what happened in November 2020, Google announced that starting from kind of May, this update would be effective. And that meant 1 year of beta testing, and that was unseen ever before. So that's why we SEO started like, whoa, this might be a huge thing. And in the same time, the Google introduced also a new analytics, which is the analytics 4, and that is also on user experience, page behavior. So then last month, Google announced that over the summer, actually, the impact of the core web vitals to the search engine result pages will start to be visible. So now I told a lot of stuff. People here might think, but what is he actually talking about? So if we go to the next slide, we see what Google announced. So they said that what I basically just told you is that their systems will take it easy to fully adapt to measure all the new ranking signals that derive from what is page experience, how is the page experience, and they have like a certain set of new algorithms to measure these. And if we go to the next slide, we will see interesting things. We break it down. We see above, we see loading, interactivity, and visual stability. So these are the three main metrics Google is going to use to analyze your page experience. So basically it is from the user view. So the first one is loading. This is like basically quite simple. Is your website loading fast? You get points. Is it loading mega fast? You get 100 points, and there will be tools also in the range from 0 to 100. So then you have interactivity. And interactivity means how fast can the user start to interact actually with the web page, whether it's mobile or whether it's a desktop page. And the third one is visual stability. This means how long does it take for the page to load and actually work. So sometimes you load a page and then whoop, the ad is loading and all of a sudden you have to scroll down. So that's actually what is the visual stability about. So these three metrics, and we can call it in a difficult way, largest contentful paint, first input delay, and cumulative layout shift. These are all terms that both SEOs and web developers have been discussing the past year because we also didn't know what they mean, right? So they were all newly laid out in the Search Console, and we are just aware that we have to work with it. So we started using the tools that actually told us what those metrics mean and how we can steer our platforms, our websites to be built to kind of pass the tests that Google has for us. But if you break it down, it's all about loading speed and how can we use the website? Can I directly access all the information on it? So that's it basically in short.
Great, Bob. So, I mean, so let's say I have a small business and I have this beautiful video on my site, but it takes a long time to load, or maybe loads fast in some countries, but not in some others, because that also depends on the hosting. Then chances are Google will see this as poor. Hence, I won't make enough points, right? And I won't rank high on Google, correct?
Well, yeah, it's kind of correct. So basically, the question would be, is your video loading on YouTube, or is it loading on a server on your own website, or is it loading on Vimeo? Yeah. If it's loading on YouTube, probably you don't get so many malus points, but if it's loading indeed on your own website, on your own server, and it's loading slow, then you get minus points. You can also see this, the example with the map that we all have on the contact page, right? So everybody wants to have this map on the contact page, but if your map is loading very slow, then you better don't put it there and just write the address, because Google thinks, hey, I'm getting the information straight there, and that map is loading all the time, so you get minus points for that. It's basically these elements like videos, but also images and maps and everything that is enriching your website, but also takes time to load. You need to make sure that those all come together in the way that the user is benefiting from it and that it's not waiting for it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's clear. Now, now that we're talking about this, Bob, so I think you covered this already, right? In here you added some concrete examples, correct? This
Yeah. So if we want to go quickly through this, this is basically where we stand now. The core web vitals have been announced. We are all like have been preparing the past year with different teams of development, big websites, smaller websites. Everybody that is aware is like, okay, when is it coming? When is it coming? Well, it's about to arrive. But if you did not do nothing, you're not too late, because in the end, there is a lot of fuzz about it, but you can just start with analyzing what you need to do, check your search console, or use one of the tools like the Google Lighthouse tools, but there's different ones as well. There's also the Chrome Web Dev tools, or ask your SEO guy to run a test. And then you can start improving, because it's not too late yet. Like last month, Jeroen Tjepkema of MeasureWorks, he published a blog post after his research that of the 100 bigger websites in the Netherlands, only 19% now is passing Google's tests for being optimized for the core web vitals. So if you start now, you're not too late. So what can you do after you set up like the right people to do the improvements, and Gennaro is going to talk about what actually you have to do. Then the important thing after you are passing the tests or you are scoring better is to implement a monitoring system. Google is also actually telling you how to do such. I did not write it in here, but I want to mention it. It's going to web.dev, D-E-V, and then /vitals. At that page, you will find all kinds of information on how you can do the correct implementation, also of monitoring your site. And once you are monitoring your site, you can kind of adapt to the changes. And I always say the most important thing is to remember that when your website is really trying to serve the user's needs and you accommodate their stay, there you are already halfway. So it's not too late for nobody here. And I think this is also the right moment to help the people, like, what can we do? Because yeah, it can be a scary thing, those core web vitals and what they're gonna do. Nobody really knows. It is gonna have huge impact, that we are kind of sure, but how it's gonna unfold, it's always a surprise with the Google updates.
Perfect, Bob, thank you. So in short, go to web.dev.
Vitals,
/vitals.
Yeah, but we will share it.
We will share that. Don't worry, because we will send you a lot of material after this session. I see some questions popping up, and there's one very specific that maybe Bob, you or you, Hannah, you can jump on, and maybe help me reply to it. So it says from Slava, they're asking, does it mean websites hosted on Google Cloud platforms will get more ranking points?
Well, they will be at least optimized for speed. So they are optimized for the loading part, because Google makes sure that you are on the right server, you are on their servers. But it does not mean that also on interactivity, you all of a sudden win all the points, because I mean, you still need to create that website. So you have a little plus, but if you consider it as 3 pillars on the previous slide, maybe you can go back to the previous slide.
Of course.
So on the loading part, you might have a little benefit, but on the interactivity and the visual stability, it is still creating the website that is working for those two.
Perfect. Alrighty, thank you, Bob. Now, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We don't want anyone to leave this session with questions. Here we are. Now, if you're joining, if you're not so aware of what the importance of SEO is, well, there are a lot of businesses that rely on SEO as a main channel to generate leads, right? For example, one of them is my business, PR Lab. So we get a lot of business, a lot of new businesses, a lot of new deals through the search engine of Google. So this change is going to be big, as Bob and Genaro are saying, and we need to be prepared because it can definitely impact how many leads we create per month or the amount of leads that we create and so on. You know this, you know how it goes with the funnel. Now, we've been talking quite a lot now about what's happening. Shall we talk about what can we do to actually be ready, Hena?
Of course. So what I'm going to talk about, it's about how to improve for core web vitals on WordPress. And I think in this case, the first subject we need to touch is which theme are you using or which theme are you going to use? Of course, if you have a very large website, you are not going to get into changing the theme because it's a huge work. But if you have a little website or if you are starting or about to start, you might consider take a look to a theme you are using. In my case, I use Oxygen Builder since 2020, and the big benefit is the most performant page builder in the market. There are also 2 or 3 other builders, but they have less broad code than the other ones, so it's easier to optimize for them. So in my case, it's the best thing you can do if you are starting from zero. Or maybe the disclaimers is a bit harder to use. You need to have some knowledge about coding, probably CSS, some Flexbox, and it's not the best option for e-commerce. But if you are not creating an e-commerce, and if you know some coding, I really suggest you use Oxygen because it will make it easier for you, and it's easier to get good results and to pass the core vitals assessment.
And if I have let's say a small business and I don't have a developer, is there any other theme that you would recommend people to use that is not Oxygen, that requires some coding?
I think if you have someone that I'm not a developer and I can use Oxygen having some knowledge about coding. So I think you can do it in Oxygen. If not, here they talk about Beaver Builder. I think builders are better than themes because you're not charging all data resources all the time. So try to avoid themes if you can. If not, you also can optimize. But of course, if you're loading something smaller, it will be easier to optimize, and it will be easier to have the results that you need. Because honestly, it's hard to get these results on WordPress, and definitely having the right theme it's important. Anyways, in the next slides, I'm going to show my advice of how to optimize your WordPress, even if you don't have Oxygen Builder and you're using other themes, as can be Elementor, Divi, Arc, or many other themes.
Yeah, that was my question indeed. So basically, these builders, they have predefined themes that you can pick, right? So it does not matter if I'm using Elementor or Divi or Oxygen. They provide themes that I can customize, or that I can build a completely new website on those builders, right?
Oxygen, what they do is they cancel your theme and they provide you templates. I don't know how Beaver works, but Oxygen, they do that. In fact, what you do with Oxygen is you have only one theme that is canceled, is a default theme of WordPress, and they provide you many elements. Honestly, for 70 kilobytes, they provide you a lot of things. You can almost build a website without having deep knowledge about coding.
And this Oxygen, and I know for Divi, they make you build the website, and Oxygen will also take care that the code is not slow, right? So to pass so that the code is in a way optimized for the core web vitals, so that you don't have to do all the optimization yourself.
No, you have to do the optimization. For example, CLS, you have to set the size. You have to optimize, but it will load faster. It's very, very quick. If you take Oxygen, you create a website without doing any optimization, you will probably get 70 on mobile and page speeding sites, 75. So it's quite clean code. Of course, then you have to use the plugins to optimize a little bit, but it makes it very, very easy.
Okay.
On the next slide, Mati.
Yeah, if I could ask something to the audience, if we are becoming very technical, please raise your hand, say something on the chat box. We will try to make it very understandable for everyone. Okay. We will sometimes, I mean, there will be parts of the webinar that we might get a bit too technical because there's a lot of SEO experts joining, but also there are entrepreneurs, business founders, marketing directors, marketing managers are here also to try to understand what this means. So we're trying to make it relevant for all of you. So if it's not relevant for you, or if you feel like the topic is becoming too complex, too technical, please let us know. And also, if you have a question, now's the time. Make use of the chat box. Okay, Hannah.
Okay, so the step one when you want to optimize your website is go and drop your website on page speed sites. Maybe you can also use Shitty Metrics. There are many tools, but basically what you want to see is you need to know what is not loading like it should or what can be improved so you can work on that. So if you drop your website on page speed sites, Google will give you many advices that you should follow to improve. Every website will have different advice. I didn't find a way to automate this. So always the first step is go and take a look to see what is working not very well or what can be improved. Then the second step that it happened with some hostings is that you have your PHP version update. Maybe you're on PHP 5 something or 6 and it's not as performant. So just take a look to that and take a look that you are also using HTTP2, that you're going to this protocol. These are things like, for example, in my hosting, they take care and I can change PHP easily, but it depends on your hosting. So that's two things you have to get sure, especially if you see that your first time to buy is very slow. This is quite technical, but it's something easy to do. You can even ask support in your hosting. So the step 3, and this is probably the easier to do and the one that will have more impact, is clean up your website. I see websites sometimes they have 40 plugins, 50 plugins. All these plugins, they are loading a lot of code that you don't need in most of the cases. So imagine that you already have maybe a 10 that is not very performant and you also charge so many plugins, then you will have a lot of unnecessary code and your website is going to be slow. No matter what you do later, if you have 40 or 50 plugins, it will be very hard.
Gennaro,
yes.
So with the third-party code, if I use the Google tools to optimize for the core web vitals, you get it specified, right? What third-party code makes your website slower? Yes. I also often see that the Google ads are making a website slower. So I start advising, especially also blogs or other websites that are having ads. If you need to see if they really work for you, because you need to clean also sometimes some stuff that you rather not clean, because you need to make the way if you make enough out of a slower website, or you want to keep the ads, right? It's the same thing as with the map. It's all loading and it's all taking extra time, but Google will show you in the tools which ones they are.
Which was here, you can see it on page speed sites exactly. And yeah, of course, at some point you have to balance what are you showing on every page. I mean, you have to put in the balance what is really important to log, especially when we are talking about third-party code and plugins. Mm-hmm. Many plugins, for example, I will give you an example, but there is a plugin, getButton.io, and you put the plugin just to put the button. The button, you can do it by yourself. So if you can do the things by yourself, try to avoid to charge plugin. That's the best practice I can tell for WordPress.
Plugin can actually like also we had that. Remember once that we had a plugin that in a sense like it prevented the website from functioning properly sometimes, because there's sometimes stuff with the code, right, or something that clashes with how your website works, and then yeah. I know
Yeah,
you're
you
the
have to,
advocate of
you
not
have
using.
to be very careful with plugins. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
my policy is try to avoid plugins if you can avoid it. If you have
Okay.
no choice, I mean, there are some plugins you will need and you cannot develop by yourself or you cannot do it, then use it. But if not, try to avoid the plugins. The step 4 is add a plugin, but this is an optimization plugin. So I put 4 of them here. My favorite is WP Rocket. It's not a free plugin in the other hand, but for optimization, and in my experience, it's the best plugin that will make you win a lot of time for 50 euros a year. It's, in my opinion, the best plugin for WordPress optimization. Then you have other choices as SEO Optimizer if you're on SiteGround, or Auto Optimize, or WP3 Cache. But in my opinion, if you have the budget, take WP Rocket. You will win a lot of time.
And these plugins are optimizing for speed, right? They are not like Yoast or anything that they are optimizing your website for SEO to rank better. They are optimizing it for loading faster, which is one of the core metrics of the core web vitals, right?
Exactly, yes. They allow you to minify code, to defer code. So you really need them if you want to reach to a good web core vitals. And the step 5, it's about images, videos, and also CDN. Especially if you have a global audience, you will need a CDN, because usually, for example, also we have SiteGround, and SiteGround have servers on USA and Europe.
What is a CDN? So, can I explain what it means?
A CDN is content delivery network. So basically, what they do is they deliver, for example, the images, the CSS, the JavaScript from servers that are closer to our location. For example, if SiteGround has servers on the Netherlands, you might be in the Netherlands and you are going to have a fast loading speed. But now I'm in Argentina and I will not have the same performance that you do, except if we use a CDN.
Okay.
So that's also another problem.
The website will not fast in different locations.
Exactly.
Right? Regardless of where your hosting is located.
Exactly. Because that's also something that we need to see is like we have the lab data. For example, we run Lighthouse or we run web page spin sites, and that's going to show you lab data. But you also have the field data, and that's going to be, for example, the person that is far from the server and load the page, and the page, instead of loading like in your Mac in a big city, is going to load in maybe 2 seconds later or 3 seconds later because the server is far. So you need the CDN to take care of that, especially if you have international traffic.
Yeah, and I think if we take this back to the rankings, that is important for your different local SEO. So if you have a website that is ranking internationally, it matters if you have a CDN that is delivering actually where you want to rank, even if it is only English, right? So if you are serving in the Netherlands and in Argentina, and you are hosting in the United States, then you need to make sure that you are optimizing for both locations. And this is what helps there, right?
Exactly, yes. So yes, CDN is, for me, it's very important. And also some CDNs, they take care of the optimization of the images, because on image optimization, we have the size and we have the format. And for example, we use a CDN that optimizes the images automatically and transforms from JPEG to WebP. That's something that Google also advises using next generation format. So if you have this problem, probably using a CDN that do this work will address to this problem and will solve it, and will improve a lot the loading speed time.
Okay.
So if you go to the next slide, what I'm going to explain shortly, because I'm going to send an email about this, is how to use the optimization plugins. So if you're not a developer, you never use them, there are a few things that you need to know, that these plugins will allow you to improve the way that your website loads. And the first thing before you use these plugins, and this is very, very important, always do a backup before start using them. I'm using them since 2018, and today I still have problems and sometimes I break the website. So you need a real backup where you can go back in just one click, or just you have to be sure that you can go back on your website before start using them. And the second advice is, in this kind of plugins, you will have 20, 30, or 40 options that you will enable and disable. And these options can break your site. So the first time you do it, do one by one and check that do one by one, clean your cache, and get sure that everything in your website is working. For example, in PeerLab, once I was using these plugins, I optimized everything. I saw 90, I was super happy. And then I realized that the question tool was not working, and I had to do everything again until I found what was the problem. So when you apply something, especially minification or combining files, get sure that you are testing everything later.
Okay, Hannah, one little thing that I wanted to say. So from now on, it might get a bit technical. Don't worry about it. We'll send you every single step via email. We'll send you like a summary of all the things that you need to do. Canada will explain it. It might get technical by default because we're talking about optimizing your website and some plugins. So it will get technical. But if you have any questions regarding SEO, the SEO of your site, regarding your position on Google, regarding how can you rank higher, this is your chance. Please keep dropping them in the chat box and we will address them along the way. Okay?
Exactly. So I've seen one on structured data, right? Did you miss it, Matt?
Yes, no, I have it, but we will address it.
We'll get there. All right, perfect, perfect. It's on the radar.
Cool.
Okay, so basically this is what is going to happen when you install Auto-Optimize, SG Optimizer, or WP Rocket. As I said, if you have the budget, go on WP Rocket because you will have better results. It's not an expensive plugin and it will really save you a lot of time. So the first 2 points, gzip compression and browser caching, most of the plugin do it automatically, so you don't need to activate them. When we come about combine files, basically what the plugin do is they take off all the characters on the code. So let's say you have spaces, comments, that's minifying. So they are going to erase all that plugins that are useless, for they have a short file that will load faster. And about combining, they are going to put all the files in one. So that will make less requests to the server. So this you have to do it on JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. So this is the part that can break the website in most of the cases. In my case, for example, in some websites, I cannot combine the JavaScript files because it breaks something. So as I told you, need to try one by one, go slow. So you try, for example, you minify JavaScript. It's just a button. You activate the minification. And then what you have to do, you clean your cache and you run your website. And you see that it didn't broke anything. So you do this process with the 5 of them, yes? If you go to the next slide, we have the lazy loading of images and videos. This is also an option that usually you will be able to activate with the button. Just one thing to, basically what they do is they defer the loading of these images. What is important to know is you have the images about the fold. So this is the images that you see on the first section of the website when you visit the website. For example, for us, is a video of PeerLab, so that you don't have to put lazy loading, because that will decrease your LCP. This is important. If you use a plugin, you only have to say, okay, do it with all the images, but not with the one that are above the fold. Usually you only put the name of the file and it works like this. The point 7 is defer render blocking JavaScript. This is also a button that you have to activate. And what they do is they charge the JavaScript that you don't need for the first render later. On specified dimensions, this is what Bob told about CLS, about visual stability. And basically what you have to do is to put fixed dimension for images and some, for example, embed embed videos or these kind of elements, because otherwise what it's going to do is going to provoke instability on your website. So this is easy. You only have to go to the page and put a size, specify the dimension for the elements. Then we have the point 9, that is DNS prefetch for external domains. Basically, if you are loading a third-party code for some reason that you need, just add this domain and the server will start working with it earlier, so it takes less time at the end. And finally, the 10 is a tool that is called Asset Cleanup. And basically, this tool allows you to not load every code everywhere. It allows you to choose which code you are choosing. For example, I don't know, let's say we have a live chat and peer lab, and I don't want it to be on the home page because I know everyone is going there and it's taking a lot of time, and I prefer to be on the service pages. So I say, okay, this live chat, we don't use it on the home page, but we use on the service page. And for that, you can do, for example, with the contact form. If you don't have contact form on a service page, or if you have contact form on the home page, then you don't need the code on the home page. So you can choose which code you're activating in which page, and that allows you to charge more plugins and not be penalized for this code.
Perfect. Gena, thank you so much.
You're
now,
welcome.
for your peace of mind, if you're here and you have no idea what Gena should talk about, don't worry, you're not alone. This was the most technical part of it. You will get this delivered anyway via email. Now, maybe let's circle back a little bit to SEO, because we got an interesting question that I just saw, and then we will address all of your questions, by the way. So please keep asking questions. But we saw one that is actually very interesting, because there are people here that are willing to learn about SEO in general. And even though there are some changes happening in the algorithm, some other things will remain. So there is actually an interesting question that says, when you have a new website, how long does it take to get higher, to rank higher in Google, even if you rank well? Is it true that it can take months? I reckon this question is about indexing.
Should I get this one? Because it has an interesting term to it. So what happens often, if you put a website live, you should make sure you put 1 or 2 links to it, because Google is indexing it actually quite fast usually, and it's calling the honeymoon period. Then Google is looking what the website is about, and it will categorize it. So if the website is about bikes, you will all of a sudden rank quite high on bikes for a short period of time, because Google is then measuring how much conversion, so how much clicks you get at a certain ranking. So in this honeymoon period, Google is collecting data, and then usually you're gonna be dropping a little bit in ranking. And from that moment on, Google is defining where it's going to place you as an actual website. So in the honeymoon period, if you are optimized already, so if you have the interesting titles and people click a lot, you can gain from it. So always be prepared that before you put your website live, it's actually already quite good. Don't just throw it live and optimize on the way. Really think before you put it live.
Because you are in the honeymoon period and Google is analyzing every single thing, right?
Yeah, as much as they can to see where it should actually put the website later on. And then, of course, you can go up again if it puts you down with links and with optimizing your page. But from the start, Google really knows, especially when you put 1 or 2 links to the website, because then it can be crawled directly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then let's say this is more like an evergreen question for the people that are here to learn about SEO and how it works. Let's say I have a website and I'm trying to rank high for certain keywords that are owned by my competitors. Now, what can I do to be the one ranking first? Let's say I have a PR agency. I want to rank first for PR agency in the Netherlands or in Amsterdam or in Europe. But I have this competitor that is, every time I put PR agency, they are there. What can I do? What kind of like tricks can you guys recommend to the audience to start ranking higher on certain keywords?
Gennaro, you want to answer this with a very like in 15 days course,
Yeah.
or do we have like 3 or 4 tips for this?
Quick tips.
No, of course, it's hard to answer this question because basically it's all about your SEO strategy. What I can say is the first thing I would do in that case, I would run an audit about of my website. I would try to see what is not working well, and I would do a keyword search. So I would know for all the keywords and all the synonyms I want to rank, I would put these keywords in relevant places on and create, of course, relevant content on my website, and then fix all the problems that that you have. But of course, it's honestly it's a very hard question because it's very wide. I mean, there are more than 200 ranking factors on Google, so it's very wide. Maybe Bob can tell something else about it.
Yeah, well, indeed, once you checked your websites, are your keywords correctly implemented? So if we go back to the bikes again, buying a race bike, do you have the correct keywords implemented everywhere? That is from the URL to the title, to the headings, to the content. Do you have images optimized for the race bike or for the bikes? Are you in the right topic? That is what Gennaro just said. We check this all. And then it is interesting to see, why are my competitors still outranking me on race bikes? Because I have my pages on race bikes are optimized for this keyword. So what you do, you can use tools. Also, the Search Console will tell you how many incoming links you have, but you have different tools like Ahrefs, MozRank, Systrix. It depends on what niche you are. They will tell you how many links, incoming links you have on your domain, and how many incoming links you have on this specific page, and how many your competitors have. And from there, you can get into a comparison. If my competitor has 5 incoming links and I have 1, then your competitor has 5 votes for this website, for this page on race bikes. I only have 1. So you can see if they come from an interesting, high domain, high ranking website, like Matthias just told in the intro. So if you do get links from newspapers, they score well. But there is another touch to this, because you can consider them votes, but you can also get preferred votes, which means that you get incoming links with the anchor text race bikes, because Google considers that as a preferred vote. So not click here, but race bike as the actual link text. So then you had the on-page optimization Gennaro just explained, and this is like the start of your link building strategy. But this is like the 15 days crash course that we could get into all the details about this.
And of course, if you want all the details, you can always just contact Gennaro and Bob on LinkedIn, and yeah,
sure,
do it for you. But if you want to do it yourself, then I mean, you already got some tips. And Bob, if I'm not wrong, and if I understood it correctly, those links that you were just mentioning are the ones that then we should request people, like external parties, to use, right? When they talk about us, right? When they're linking us, then please use this link that has racing bikes. So then Google sees that as like, okay, these guys are doing exactly this when I run them.
Yeah,
correct.
These guys get a link on that topic, so they must know a lot about that topic.
Yeah.
So we rank them on that topic. Simple.
And that's when you start requesting links or writing articles, right? Submitting them to third parties, and then they put a link to your site, right?
Indeed. So, and also when you do a PR outreach, your PR agency or you yourself knows that you need to request already the correct way of linking, and not just ask for a link, but tell them what kind of link would be the nicest.
Exactly. Perfect. And this is when PR meets SEO. Okay. Now, moving forward, we're still getting some questions which are really good, and we will answer them in a sec. So stay tuned. If you have more questions, please drop them in the chat. I'm trying to get closer to the end so we can only focus on questions, but we have some extra tips for you. Hannah, maybe we can go very quickly over this slide and then jump into the
Sure.
tools.
Sure,
Yeah?
sure. I will be really short. So this is two things I have struggled with and I wanted to share with you. So the first is, if you are struggling with LCP, there's something called critical CSS. In my case, I have been looking for solution on WordPress, and the only plugin that take care of this is WP Rocket, because they create a critical CSS for all your website, and then you can automatically create a critical CSS for every page, for each page. So basically what they do is they charge before the most important CSS, the CSS that you need for the above default section, for the section that you're going to see on when you open your website for the first time before scrolling. So this is a point, because in my experience, LCP is the hardest thing to improve, especially LCP on mobile. This is what I struggle the most always. So my solution to this was WP Rocket. They create this critical CSS. There are ways that you can create a critical CSS, but create a critical CSS page per page, I think is a nightmare. It's very hard, it takes a lot of time, and when you change something, you will have to change it again. So WP Rocket has this option that does it automatically, and in my experience, it will really help you with this LCP that is the hardest thing to improve. And then I come again to understand the difference between lab and field data, because you can have very good results on PageSpeed Insights and then go Search Console and see that you still have a problem. It happened to us already. We have been taking a look to this, and we understood it was because people was coming from different places from the world and was not having the same results that us we were having in a big city, or like Mati was having in Amsterdam that is close to our server. So that's something you need to take care as well. It's not just running 90 or 100 on PageSpeed Insights, but it's also taking care of what real people is experiencing when they visit your website.
Perfect. And then we have some tools finally, right? To recommend some to people.
Yeah, so here I'm going to share 4 tools that really changed my life, because it makes me win a lot of time in all my projects. So as I mentioned many times, WP Rocket. If you have WP Rocket, you don't need other plugin optimization. You don't need auto-optimize, just use WP Rocket and combine it with Asset Cleanup, which is next to it. So WP Rocket optimize your website, and Asset Cleanup allows you to choose what are you loading and when. And these 2 tools together, they are going to be very helpful when improving for Core Web Vitals. And finally, I will talk about 2 things that also changed my life and make me win a lot of time. First, SiteGround. I mean, in my experience, SiteGround is the best hosting because it has something that is a great customer service. If you are not a developer, if you don't know how to go and change a DNS, if you need backups, because you will need backups in your website soon, if you break your website for some reason, if you need to do something technical that you don't know how to do when you are not a developer, SiteGround is great. It's intuitive, but they have a great support. They are 24/7 available, and that will make your life easier, because when you have a big problem, you are not a developer, you have no knowledge of cPanel, and you don't know how to solve it, having this hosting will make your life easier. If you don't want SiteGround, you can go to other hosting, but take a look to this. Get sure that you have a live chat when you can get in touch 24/7. And the last tool is all-in-one WP migration, because if you want to migrate a website, it's a huge work, and they make it easier. You can do it in 3-4 clicks in 20 minutes. And also because they allow you to do restore in 1 click, especially when you're playing with these plugins, optimizing the website, that you really can break it. And the most possible thing is you're going to break the website, or something is not going to work very well, because it happens to me every time I optimize a website. Having these plugins allows you to, in 1 click, go to the step before. So I think this is 4 tools that you really need to use if you want to manage well all the situation.
Perfect, Hannah. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Now, if you are still with us, we're reaching the end. We will send you a checklist now via email with all the steps that Renato just shared about how to optimize your website. We will also send you a brochure with the SEO-friendly websites that Renato is developing. So you can actually just get in touch, and they have all the information. As you can see, this is actually the performance of the websites that Renato developed, and he checked the ranking in the URL from Google to see if they're meeting the requirements. And as you can see, they all have 96 points, 99 points. We have 98 points. So thanks to Renato, thank you so much. And if you want to get your own SEO-friendly website developed, get in touch and we'll send them to you. Now, we have some questions, guys. We only have 5 minutes, so I will ask you to please be fast when answering the last 2 questions of the webinar. We will close after that, but people can still please connect with us, connect with Renato, with Bob on LinkedIn, send us an email. We'll make sure that you get all your questions answered, because this is all about being part of the same community. Okay, so one of the questions says, actually, this is an interesting one because it's about optimizing your site for mobile. So it says, right now our desktop is performing much faster than our mobile version of the site, according to the page insights. Is there a way to target mobile speed specifically? Guys,
we'll go on this one.
You can go on this one, Gennaro,
Yes.
if you have the answer there.
So yes, mobile is harder to optimize than desktop. Everyone has better result on desktop than on mobile. What you can do, some plugins like WP Rocket have the option to create a special cache for mobile, so that helps you a lot. Also, if you follow all these steps, I think you will be able to get between 80 and 90 on mobile. As I told, if you check the examples before, you see difference. There was one of the website was 80 something on mobile and the other was 90 something. That's WP Rocket and the critical CSS. In my opinion, in mobile, what you will need is a good critical CSS and follow all the steps we talk about, and that will give you a good result.
And another small thing to add is on mobile, you can also see, do you need everything that you have on desktop? Because the experience is different, so you can also sometimes do with less content.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true as well. For example, also in PeerLab, if you check our website on desktop, you will see a video. If you check it on mobile, only an image. So you can choose and you can change the content to reach the Google standards.
Like basically you don't need to have the same display in both, right? You can play with that. Perfect. We have a question. Which CMS or builder on WordPress do you advise for an e-commerce and non-e-commerce website, or a combination of both? Currently, our website is on HubSpot.
Sure.
Yeah, well, you know, HubSpot is very secure and fast. If you want to have maximum flexibility and good scoring, good rankings, it's usually WooCommerce. But I don't know if Gennaro says something else for e-commerce.
Yeah, for e-commerce, I agree with both. And for non-e-commerce, as I told, I think Oxygen Builder, if you have some code knowledge, is definitely the best option.
Perfect, guys. And that actually brings us to the end of the webinar. I don't know if you have any final words or anything that you would like to share with the audience. We went quite fast, I know, and I know there are some questions remaining, but unfortunately we cannot address them all. But now it's time to give the final piece of advice before the algorithm changes. And you cannot say that we didn't tell you about it. So Hannah and Bob.
Yeah, well, I want to still, I've seen the structured data question, so that person should really get in touch with me. This does not affect the core web vitals, but it's one of the other very important elements that we should actually host an event about. So come forward with the questions about that. I am happy to share them. And for the core web vitals, I think that if you are if you have a user-friendly mindset, that's the most important, to be prepared. And from there, you can start optimizing.
Perfect. Yes, we will do a follow-up event on that topic, we promise. Reina.
Me, I would like to say, don't panic. I know there are many concepts there, but when you start doing one by one, you will see that it's easier than it looked like. And this will be, I think this will be progressive. I mean, we don't know how is it going to be, but we think it will be progressive. So no one is going to, I don't think no one's going to drop 3 pages from one day to another. It's just another important ranking signal, but I think the main concept is take care of it, but don't panic.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Don't panic, but act fast, because it's coming.
Exactly.
So if you have the resources, if you can get in touch with these lovely experts, Genaro and Bob, that free agenda to talk to you today, please do so. It's a big change. Google has been announcing it for a while. This never happened before, which means it's going to be big. And we told you about it. Now, thank you so much for joining. We will send you the recording via email. We will send you the brochure about the websites. We will send you the checklist of all the things that you need to do. What else do you want from us? You got it all. Thank you so much, guys. It's been such a pleasure. And please connect with us on LinkedIn, follow us on Instagram, stay in touch, and we will see you very, very soon. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.